Hello students, I am Dr. Jainendra Jain, Professor, Department of Pharmacy, Ramesh Institute of Vocational and Technical Education, Greater Noida. Today I will be covering the 7th semester subject Instrumental Method of Analysis, having subject code BP 701T, and in today's lecture I will be covering the unit 1, that is UV visible spectroscopy, in which we will be discussing about electronic transition, chromophore and auxochromes. So, the outcome of today's lecture will be the detailed definition of spectroscopy and electromagnetic spectrum, understanding the various concept of electromagnetic spectrum and get basic idea about the wave nature and the dual nature of electromagnetic radiation. We will also study the detailed interaction of electromagnetic radiation with the matter and exactly what happens when there is interaction of electromagnetic radiation with the matter. Spectroscopy. The word spectroscopy can be divided into two different words, one is spectro and other is scopy. So, if we talk about spectro, it is interaction. Interaction of what? Interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter, and scopy is the technique. So, we can define spectroscopy as the technique to study the interaction of electromagnetic radiation with the matter. It involves measurement of the amount of electromagnetic radiation that is absorbed, emitted or scattered by the sample, and this technique is quantitative in nature. So, when we say quantitative in nature, that means we can determine the amount present in the sample by means of an assay. It is a form of energy and we can say that it possesses both properties, that is photon and the wave nature. So, both properties they are called as dual nature, where energy is equal to h into mu. H is constant, mu is frequency and E is energy. That means, energy is directly proportional to frequency. Coming to electromagnetic spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum has been classified into different waves or different rays based on their energy content. तो यहाँ पर मैं आपसे बात करूँगा energy content in terms of their wavelength. So, we will start with in terms of picometer and will go up to millimeter. So, electromagnetic radiation, it starts with the higher energetic radiation in the form of gamma rays, followed by X-rays, followed by far ultraviolet region, then near ultraviolet region and visible region. This is the region of our concern, because this is the region where all UV visible analysis has been done, followed by near infrared, then infrared and far infrared, microwave and then radio waves. So, if we see the classification according to the wave number or according to the wavelength, the gamma rays it ranges between 1 picometer to 10 picometer, X-rays it ranges from 10 picometer to 10 nanometer, then far ultraviolet rays, or you can also say it is a vacuum UV rays, it ranges from 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer, and from 200 nanometer to 800 nanometer it is the UV and visible rays, and this region is the region of concern for all of us. Followed by UV and visible rays, then we have near infrared, then far infrared, and each and every technique has got its own applications. Say for example, microwave has got different application, radio waves has got different application. It is the most widely used technique in NMR spectroscopy. Near infrared, this is the technique used for functional group analysis. Whereas UV visible spectroscopy, it is used for quantitative analysis. So, this is the detailed description of electromagnetic spectrum, which starts from gamma rays and ends at the radio waves. Electromagnetic radiation, as I have already told you, it has electric field and the magnetic field, and they are oscillating in the planes which are perpendicular to each other. So, you can see from the diagram, they are exactly perpendicular to each other and they are oscillating in the plane which are perpendicular to each other. It has dual nature, one is the wave and other is the photon. So, wave nature, it is characterized by frequency, wavelength, speed and phase. So, you can see here frequency, number of waves, that means cycles per second, that pass a given point in the space and is expressed in the form of hertz, or it can also be expressed in the form of cycles per second, that is CPS. Wavelength, it is the distance between two consecutive peaks or two consecutive troughs. So, that is called as the wavelength, and its unit is either nanometer or micrometer, or it can also be expressed as angstrom unit. You can see from the diagram higher frequency, smaller is the wavelength, or you can also say higher energy. So, higher energy means higher frequency and smaller is the wavelength, whereas less frequency means lesser amount of energy and bigger is the wavelength. So, you can observe the differences in the propagation. We have one more terminology called as wave number. This is the terminology which is widely used in IR spectroscopy, and it can be defined as 1 upon lambda, and its unit is centimeter inverse. Regarding the particle nature, the electromagnetic radiations, they can be described in terms of particles of energy, and we call them as a photon. The energy content of photon is given as E is equal to h mu, where h is Planck's constant, c is velocity and lambda is wavelength. So, what we can see, energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. So, higher the energy, lesser is the wavelength, lesser the energy, higher is the wavelength. The equation relates energy of each photon of the radiation to the electromagnetic wave characteristics, that means with lambda. The photon has energy, but it has no mass and no charge. Now, coming to the next component, that is interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. So, electromagnetic radiation, which is the incident radiation, when it interacts with the sample, what exactly happens? Some amount of light is absorbed. If the light is absorbed, then we say it is a absorption spectroscopy, and whatever we are discussing today is the absorption spectroscopy in the form of UV visible spectroscopy. There are other examples of absorption spectroscopy also, called as infrared spectroscopy and rotational spectroscopy. So, when electromagnetic radiation interacts with the sample, some amount of energy is absorbed and remaining amount of energy is transmitted. So, if the absorbed energy is emitted, then the technique is called as emission spectroscopy. So, we have examples of emission spectroscopy like flame photometry is the example of emission spectroscopy. Then we have fluorescence spectroscopy, another example of emission spectroscopy, phosphorescence spectroscopy, another example of emission spectroscopy. If the amount of absorbed light is scattered, then the technique is called as scattering spectroscopy, and we know the technique very well. We know it very well. It is an example of Raman spectroscopy. जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं इस टेबल के अंदर रिलेशनशिप दिया हुआ है, इस टेबल के अंदर रिलेशनशिप दिया हुआ है एनर्जी कंटेंट का, वेवलेंथ का, जो इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशंस उसके साथ एसोसिएटेड हैं, जो प्रोसेसेस उसके साथ एसोसिएट हैं और जो करस्पॉन्डिंग टेक्निक उससे रिलेटेड हैं. तो जैसा कि मैंने आपसे अभी थोड़ी देर पहले ही बताया, अगर एनर्जी कंटेंट ज़्यादा होगा तो वेवलेंथ कम होगी, अगर एनर्जी कंटेंट कम होगा तो वेवलेंथ ज़्यादा होगी. जो इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक रेडिएशंस इस टेक्निक के अंडर में कवर होते हैं, दे आर गामा रेज एज वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन, एक्स रेज, यूवी विजिबल रेडिएशंस, इंफ्रारेड रेडिएशंस, माइक्रोवेव एंड रेडियो वेव्स. तो जब गामा रेज सैंपल के साथ इंटरैक्ट करते हैं, सो देयर इज न्यूक्लियर ट्रांजिशन एंड the corresponding technique is Moser spectroscopy. When X-rays they are interacting with the sample, it causes transition of inertial electrons and the technique is electron spectroscopy. When UV visible rays they are interacting with the sample, they causes transitions of valential electrons and the technique is UV visible spectroscopy. Infrared, when they interact with the sample, they causes transition of vibrational energy and the technique is vibrational spectroscopy or infrared spectroscopy. Microwaves, it causes rotational transitions and the technique is rotational spectroscopy. Radio waves causes transition of radio waves, there is change in the nuclear and the electron spin in presence of external magnetic field and the technique is NMR spectroscopy or electron spin resonance spectroscopy. Now, what type of electrons they are involved in electronic transitions? So, we have got 4 major types of electrons: closed shell electron, sigma bond electrons means sigma electrons, non bonding electrons and pi bonding electrons. So, when we say closed shell electrons, these are the inertial electrons which are not involved in formation of bond and they require very high amount of energy for their transition, and that amount of energy actually it lies in X-rays. We are not bothered about this energy because our area of interest is UV visible radiations. Then the second category of electron sigma electron, they are involved in the formation of bond, is the covalent bond, and they are mainly present in saturated hydrocarbons. They absorb in vacuum ultraviolet region that also needs higher amount of energy for electronic transition and which occurs in the vacuum ultraviolet region from 10 to 200 nanometer. Non bonding electrons, the electrons which are present on heteroatom like oxygen, sulfur, nitro, halogens, and these electrons they shows absorption in UV and visible region, that is the region between 200 to 800 nanometer. Pi bonds, that means pi electrons which are also involved in formation of pi bond, they also undergo the electronic transitions and they are present in unsaturated hydrocarbons, that means C double bond C or C double bond N or C double bond O. They also absorbs in UV visible region, that is the region of 200 to 800 nanometer. Now, let us take a simple example of aniline. This is a classical example which can be covered in electronic transition of UV visible spectroscopy. So, if we say nitrogen, it contains lone pair of electrons, these are the pi bonds and this is the sigma bond. So, sigma bond it absorbs energy and goes to sigma star and we call it as a sigma anti-bonding molecular orbital. Sigma bond we call it as a sigma bonding molecular orbital. So, this transition from sigma to sigma star is called as electronic transition. Pi bond it will undergo pi to pi anti-bond transition and non-bonding electrons they are called as non-bonding electrons. They can undergo N to sigma antibond and N to pi antibond. So, what can be covered in electronic transitions? How many types of electronic transitions are possible in UV visible spectroscopy? So, by looking at this picture we can say we have sigma to sigma star, pi to pi star, N to sigma star and N to pi star. Let us see one by one. Sigma to sigma antibond transition. What exactly happens in electronic transition? So, if I take a simple example of hydrogen, so if I say HH, that means hydrogen with one electron, hydrogen with another electron. So, this is molecular orbital. When it absorbs energy, it is something like this, one electron here and one electron here, they are called as anti-bonding molecular orbital. So, what exactly happens in electronic transition, specifically sigma to sigma antibond transition? Sigma bond absorbs energy, goes to excited state, and this transition is called as electronic transition. The sigma to sigma anti-bond transition requires very high amount of energy. The energy requirement is very high. And for example, we can see the methane, its lambda max is 125 nanometer. This is lambda max, its lambda max is 125 nanometer. The absorption maxima due to sigma antibond transitions are not seen in UV visible spectra, because UV visible spectroscopy, it covers the range from 200 to 700 nanometer. Somewhere you will find 200 to 800 nanometer, somewhere you will find 180 to 780 nanometer, but they are one and the same. So, sigma to sigma antibond transitions, they do not observe in the UV visible spectra, but they observe in vacuum ultraviolet region, that is between 125 to 135 nanometer. Generally, you can say the region below 200 nanometer, the region between below 200 nanometer is called as vacuum ultraviolet region. The second type of transition after sigma to sigma antibond is N to sigma antibond transition. N means non bonding electrons. So, non bonding electrons, they are present on the heteroatoms like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, halogens. They are capable of undergoing N to sigma antibond transition. These transitions require lesser amount of energy as compared to sigma to sigma antibond transition. So, if I have to assign the order कि कौन से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रांजिशन को ज़्यादा एनर्जी चाहिए, किसको थोड़ी सी कम एनर्जी चाहिए, किसको सबसे कम एनर्जी चाहिए, तो ऑर्डर हम लोग असाइन कर सकते हैं सिग्मा टू सिग्मा एंटी बॉन्ड फॉलोड बाय एन टू सिग्मा एंटी बॉन्ड फॉलोड बाय पाई टू पाई एंटी बॉन्ड फॉलोड बाय एन टू पाई एंटी बॉन्ड. तो सिग्मा टू सिग्मा एंटी बॉन्ड के लिए सबसे ज्यादा एनर्जी चाहिए और ये जो एनर्जी है ये आती है वैक्यूम अल्ट्रावायलेट रीजन में. इसी के साथ एन टू सिग्मा एंटी बॉन्ड ट्रांजिशन के लिए भी ज्यादा एनर्जी चाहिए और ये एनर्जी भी आती है वैक्यूम अल्ट्रावायलेट रीजन में. तो यदि हम कहें कि यूवी विजिबल रीजन के अंदर कौन से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रांजिशंस पॉसिबल है, तो वो जो ट्रांजिशंस पॉसिबल है वो है पाई टू पाई एंटी बॉन्ड एंड एन टू पाई एंटी बॉन्ड. द पाई इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इन ए बॉन्डिंग ऑर्बिटल is excited to the corresponding anti-bonding molecular orbital, and this transitions it occurs between 200 to 400 nanometer. Here you can also see the alkenes, which is the basic chromophore. Alkene, you can take an example of ethylene. Its lambda max is 165 nanometer. So, but as soon as you add one more conjugated double bond, you will observe that the lambda max is increasing. So, what can be assumed? Pi to pi antibond transitions and N to pi antibond transitions, they occur in UV visible range, that is from 200 to 400 nanometer. Compounds containing multiple bonds like alkenes, alkynes, carbonyls, nitriles, aromatic compounds, they undergo pi to pi antibond transition. The last transition, that is N to pi antibond transition. So, N to pi antibond transition, as I have already told you, we have heteroatoms oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and halogens. They contains non bonding electrons, and these non bonding electrons, they can undergo N2 sigma antibond transition and N2 pi antibond transition. So, here we will be discussing about N2 pi antibond transition. So, when we say compounds containing double bond involving heteroatoms like carbonyl, then nitrile, nitro, they undergo such type of transitions. And these transitions again they occur in UV visible region around 300 nanometer. So, if we if we see the energy diagram of various transitions, if we see the energy diagram of various transitions, we can have the first transition is sigma to sigma antibond needing highest amount of energy, then N to sigma antibond needing somewhat lesser amount of energy, then pi to pi antibond transition requiring quite less amount of energy, and N to pi antibond transition requiring least amount of energy. So, there are 4 types of electronic transitions associated with UV visible spectroscopy. One is sigma to sigma antibond, other is N to sigma antibond, third is pi to pi antibond, and fourth is N to pi antibond transition. So, this is all about